Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you and a warm welcome here to Government House Yarralumla. My name is Paul Singer and I'm currently acting as the Governor-General's Official Secretary. And as this badge signifies with its cross quills, I'm also Secretary of the Order of Australia, whose Council recommends appointments and awards in the Order's General Division to the Governor-General, who is Chancellor of the Order of Australia and Principal Knight of the Order. I'm also the Secretary to the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for bravery awards. I'd particularly like to acknowledge among our distinguished guests today, the Honourable Steve Irons, representing the Prime Minister of Australia, Vice Admiral Michael Noonan, Chief of Navy, Brigadier Khalil Vigan, representing the Chief of Army, Air Marshal Leo Davies, Chief of Air Force, the Honourable Shane Stone, Chair of the Council for the Order of Australia, Mr Peter Woolcott, Commissioner of the Australian Public Surf Commission, Chief Officer Joe Murphy, representing the Commissioner of the ACT Emergency Services Agency, and Mr Philip Flood, President of the Order of Australia Association. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a special day, not only for recipients, but also for their families, friends and communities. It is a day when we celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements and service. As staff at Government House, my colleagues and I are privileged to play a small part in the recognition and celebration of that achievement. I hope we can help make today an occasion that you'll recall with pride for a long time to come. Shortly, I'll invite you to stand as Your Excellencies the Governor-General and Lady Cosgrove enter the drawing room from the door on my right. Please remain standing for the singing of the first verse of the National Anthem, the words of which are in your program. The investiture will then begin and proceed in the order listed in your programs. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter the room from the doorway on my right, and after they've been invested, will leave by the centre aisle to take their seats at the back of the room. At this point, you may like to show your appreciation with a short applause as each recipient leaves the room. At the conclusion of the investiture ceremony, the Governor-General will say a few words. He will then leave the room and I'll invite recipients to join him and Lady Cosgrove in a formal photograph at the state entrance stairs. To assist recipients in making their way to the state entrance, could I please ask that you remain in the room for a brief period while we assist in moving recipients to the photograph location. Guests will then be invited to join their excellencies in the dining room for refreshments. After the photograph is taken, their excellencies and recipients will then join you in the dining room. So please relax and enjoy this special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General of Australia and Lady Cosgrove.
Toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of her appointment as a companion in the General Division, Professor Rose Amal, for eminent service to chemical engineering, particularly in the field of particle technology, through seminal contributions to photocatalysis, to education as a researcher and academic, and to women in science as a role model and mentor. Professor Amal is an extraordinary chemical engineer and materials scientist. Her expertise in particle nanoscience and photonics is exemplary and has garnered significant national and international recognition. Her commitment to new areas of research has deeply impacted our society in such areas as education and technical innovation. Her development of human talent is exemplary, and she's created a network of renowned researchers and engineers who are spread around Australia and overseas. Professor Amal has made a remarkable contribution to this nation. Professor Rose Amal appointed a Companion of the Order.
Just heard, but there's some of the things that don't appear in the ordinary citations. I think you've co-authored or authored 450 published papers, peer-reviewed. You've been with the University of New South Wales since 1992, is that right? In various senior appointments, you're on the nanomaterials part of the Australian Research Council, is that correct? And you've had senior posts on that research council for a very long time. All of that, and I just wonder, do you ever have time off?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Especially playing with my family.
Oh, with your family. Well, look, you're a remarkable lady, and we're so lucky that you are here today and still working strongly on this wonderful area of science. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appointed a Companion in the General Division, the late Professor David Cooper, to be accepted by his wife, Mrs. Dorrie Cooper, who is supported by her grandson, Max. For eminent service to medicine, particularly in the area of HIV/AIDS research, as a clinician, scientist and administrator, to the development of treatment therapies and to health programs in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Professor Cooper was one of a handful of people worldwide who dedicated their professional lives to the treatment and science of the human immunodeficiency virus known as HIV. At the beginning of the HIV epidemic in Australia, he diagnosed some of the first cases of infection and he developed the first Australian test for the virus. Over the ensuing years, he developed and advanced his work as a clinician, researcher and leading contributor in the field. Professor Cooper's enduring commitment and devotion to humanity at large will continue to benefit the lives of many in Australia and across the globe for years to come. Mrs. Dorrie Cooper accepts the appointment of a Companion of the Order on behalf of her late husband, Professor David Cooper.
Good morning. Is this Max?
It is.
How do you do? You just stand here with your mummy. Grandma. Oh, wow. I beg your pardon. You look very young. Now, I'll hold that. Now, Max, we're going to give you this while I talk to your grandma. Can you hold that? We can help hold it. That's. Now, your late husband, of course, was a bit of a global figure. He was a member and an advisor to the World Health Organisation on HIV/AIDS. He had an association, an academic career that goes back a very long way. Indeed, I think he had 800 peer-reviewed articles since 2003. So that's a huge body of work. And while he's an enormous loss today, the nation salutes his memory and his work. Our congratulations to you as his widow. And young Max, you can look up to your granddad. All the best.
Appointed a Companion in the General Division, Ms. Erica Smythe, for eminent service to the community through corporate governance roles with charitable, medical research, higher education, nuclear scientific and technology organisations, to the minerals exploration sector and to women in business. Ms. Smythe has been a dynamic leader in the resources industry and in the science, education and community health sectors. She's one of those rare people who expertly combines technological proficiency, commercial acumen and interpersonal skills to deliver good governance in listed companies and other institutions. Ms Smythe has been a leading mentor and role model for women, a pioneer in the mining industry, and an outstanding example of true commitment to the community through her dedication to helping others. Ms Erica Smythe appointed a Companion of the Order.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Yes, let's come around here for a moment. You are undoubtedly one of the most eminent women in Australia. You've not only had this wonderful corporate career, I think you've got an association now with Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation, but you were the Chief Geologist for BHP Mining. You've had various project business management jobs with BHP. You did the same for Woodside, and I think you're also been with the University of Western Australia Senate. Are you a Pro-Chancellor now?
I was for a while.
You were Pro-Chancellor for a while. Well, all of this, your storied career goes on, and we're so proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Appointed an officer in the General Division, Mrs Jennifer Belka, for distinguished service to Australia, Middle East cultural relations through the preservation of traditional creative and visual arts, and as a textile artist and educator. Mrs Belka is a world-class textile artist specialising in patchwork and quilting. She's exhibited nationally and overseas. For many years, she's also dedicated herself to helping the artisans of tent makers market in Cairo overcome the effects of Egypt's political and social changes. She's worked to preserve and promote this traditional art form, organising over 40 exhibitions of their work around the world, and has created an international market and appreciation of these exquisite crafts. In the process, she has helped secure the livelihoods of hundreds of Egyptian artists and their families and promoted Australia's reputation in the Middle East. Mrs Belka is indeed worthy of our recognition. Mrs Jennifer Belka appointed an officer of the Order.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes, good.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Well, just before, well, come here, everyone wants to see you. Just before we let you go back to your seat, you have to tell me a little about the documentary film you initiated, The Tent Makers of Cairo.
Ah, that was made by Kim Beamish, also a trailing spouse from Foreign Affairs. So we don't sit around doing nothing, drinking cocktails.
Well, far from it.
But yes, I'd suggested to him that if he wanted a story when he arrived in Egypt, I could introduce him to a wonderful story.
You have a number of awards within your craft, isn't that right? And
Yes.
you also are a judge at domestic and international shows. And my senior executive assistant, Bronwyn Morris, believes you are a god.
I like her.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Appointed an officer in the General Division, the Honourable John Curran, for distinguished service to primary industry through roles in agricultural research and administration, to the minerals and natural resources sector, and to science industry linkages and policy. John Curran has made a significant contribution to Australia and to humanity at large. His service since leaving Parliament in 1993 has had a major impact in local, national and international domains, especially in the areas of agricultural, trade and food security. He has chaired multiple cooperative research centres, been on the boards of councils of a broad range of other organisations, and has very often served in an honorary capacity. He brings an authoritative and vigorous perspective to each body. Mr Curran is an outstanding Australian and we honour him today. The Honourable John Curran appointed an officer of the Order.
Good to see you again. Good to see you. Excellency. Congratulations. Please just stand here a minute. Everybody recognises Mr Curran from his eminent, distinguished political career, but it's what he's done since that is very much the subject of his award today. He's already, he was an AM, a member of the Order of Australia, 2 honorary doctorates. He's on 31 separate organisations which are to do either with the food chain or land care generally. You have been an adjunct professor at the ANU and Deputy Chancellor at Western Sydney University. This is a life well lived. Congratulations.
Appointed an officer in the General Division, Mr John Murray, for distinguished service to the transport, infrastructure and freight industries through roles in policy direction, planning and implementation and to Jesuit education. Mr Murray has made a lifelong significant contribution to national, state and global development and to the community. His outstanding achievements in the area of transport have included delivery of new strategic directions to address infrastructure and transport deficiencies. Similarly, he has been a key driver to secure the future for Jesuit education in Australia. Mr Murray is also a strong social advocate and is thoroughly deserving of our thanks. Mr John Murray, appointed an officer of the Order.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well done, Jock. Just stand here. Mr Murray, John Murray, Jock to all of his friends, is a well-known person and within the Australian Army, many years of very eminent service there. Then went out into what could only be called a trial by fire as the Director General of the Department of Transport in New South Wales. A very distinguished service there, leading the state up to and through the Sydney Olympic Games, wherein he attracted the highest praise for the way in which the overall transport plan worked for that pinnacle event in Australia. Since that time, he's been an advisor, a consultant, a chairman of various commercial entities, and most recently, of course, as mentioned, he's the chairman of the St Aloysius School Council in Sydney. He is a fellow who is contributing every day into his community and very rightly acknowledged with this high award. Well done, Jock.
Thank you very much.
Appointed a member in the General Division, Mrs Diane Anderson, for significant service to the community through support for not-for-profit choral societies and music events. Mrs Anderson has been a major force in her support for our cultural environment. Her sponsorship of and commitment to the Australian National Eisteddfod Society has been significant, as has her tireless work for a number of Canberra community music festivals and symphony orchestras. Mrs Anderson's volunteer and fundraising efforts for social welfare, disaster relief, youth and scientific organisations have also been most admirable. Mrs Diane Anderson, appointed a member of the Order.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Well done. Come back here just for a
Yes, I
moment.
will.
Ms Anderson and her husband are a great team, but today she's recognised particularly for her wonderful work within the Canberra community. Supporter of the Canberra Symphony Orchestra for very many years, a primary factor in the success of the Canberra International Music Festival. She's been the convener of the Australian Eisteddfods as in the choir section. Her philanthropic work goes further. I think somebody's just turning that off. It was appropriate, you know. We're talking about a lady who supports music. In particular, though, it's her philanthropic work. She was involved from, I think, 2002 in a fundraising effort for poverty relief in India. And then when the various tsunamis occurred in Japan, she was instrumental in local fundraising to send relief for that. So in all respects, you are a model citizen and a credit to your community. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Appointed a member in the General...
As you'd expect of a coach and a sportsman, he's got a good grip. You can add this to the 3 Australian and international awards you've received, particularly for your lifelong involvement in sport. But you've also been on the Bravery Awards Council, so we know each other from your service in that regard. But it's your passion for sport that has set you aside in this regard. You've been represented on the International Life-Saving Confederation. You've been on the Australian Confederation of Sport. You've got a particular love for rugby. You've been involved with women's rugby in the ACT, junior rugby or schools rugby, and in all respects you are a person living your life in the fast lane for others. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appointed a member in the General Division, Mr Gregory Fletcher, for significant service to the protection and security of Australian personnel and management of facilities at the Australian Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. In one of the most dangerous environments in which the Australian Government operates overseas, Mr Fletcher has worked tirelessly at our Embassy in Baghdad to make the compound secure for staff, despite extraordinary security and operational challenges. Mr Fletcher has brought new approaches to his tasks, and his contribution has played a key role in enabling the Embassy to operate effectively and safely, while also advancing Australia's interests in Iraq. Mr Gregory Fletcher, appointed a member of the Order.
Good to see you again. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah. You worked for nearly 8 months a year for 10 years over in Baghdad. And in that time, I think you had 5 ambassadors. So they changed, but you were the constant there. And you had several hundred Australian and New Zealand personnel uniformed who were changing around you. Many other diplomats, of course. You were working with Iraqi authorities and Iraqi subcontractors to do work. And you were in the embassy on an occasion when it was hit by a rocket or a mortar or some such. Yeah. So you've had a very exciting time, but it's I think your stoicism, your personal courage and your professional skill, which we actually highlight today, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Appointed a member in the General Division, Dr Andrew Skills, for significant service to medicine, particularly in the field of palliative care as a clinician and educator. Dr Skills is a skillful and dedicated palliative care physician. During his career, he greatly improved palliative care delivery and services to patients in the Canberra region. He's also played an important role in teaching medical students, junior doctors and specialist trainees. Underpinning Dr Skills' achievements has been an enduring respect for all patients and a compassionate approach to their quality of life, well-being and dignity. Dr Andrew Skills, appointed a member of the Order.
Now, you were the medical director of palliative care at Clare Holland House for a very long time. You're still doing that?
No.
Just finished, not long ago, last year. Yeah. And I think you were absolutely crucial in the formation of a palliative care research centre between Clare Holland House, Calvary Hospital and the Australian Catholic University. So in those 2 respects, your input to the dignified and compassionate treatment, particularly of elderly people, but people suffering, and the sort of folks who find a bed at Clare Holland House. So you're sort of a secular angel. Well done.
Thank you.
Appointed a member in the Military Division, Rear Admiral Peter Quinn, for exceptional service to the Royal Australian Navy and Defence in senior management. Admiral Quinn is an officer of rare ability who has provided exceptional service across diverse command and senior leadership appointments. He has made a significant contribution to the improvement in Navy capability, delivery and management, which has resulted in a more proficient, agile and potent force. Admiral Quinn's achievements have positioned Navy and our Defence Force to successfully meet the challenges of the future. Rear Admiral Peter Quinn appointed a member of the Order.
Good morning. Congratulations. So you joined the Navy in '83 and you were CO of HMAS Sydney at one stage, and you got the Conspicuous Service Cross for that. But in the interim, after that I should say, you were been at the centre of the acquisition of some of the most important Navy capabilities, warfighting elements, the LHDs, that's sort of big landing ships, the air warfare destroyer, the new helicopters, all of these being such important warfighting capabilities for a modern Navy. There will be generations of young men and women in naval uniform in the years to come who may not know your name but will owe you a lot. Well done.
Appointed a member in the Military Division, Brigadier Christopher Mills. For exceptional service as Chief of Future Operations Headquarters Regional Command South in Afghanistan, Director Exercise Planning at Headquarters Joint Operations Command, Director General Modernisation Army, and for contributions to the development of Australian Defence Force capabilities. Brigadier Mills has provided exceptional service and contributions to the advancement of Australia's Defence Force capability. On deployment overseas, his adaptability helped underpin Army's goals and objectives, and he was highly regarded for his foresight and drive. Brigadier Mills has championed optimum use of resources, which has allowed Army to adopt innovative solutions to a range of issues. Brigadier Christopher Mills appointed a member of the Order.
Hi, Chris. We've known each other a while, but 1987 you graduated and went into Armoured Corps. You joined in '87, graduated in '91. That's correct. And you went into Armoured Corps. You were Chief of Future Operations in Afghanistan Southern Region, is that correct? And in that regard, we can all imagine the trials and tribulations and the pressure of helping the Afghan security forces to keep their country as free as may be. And you were very successful in that. That was perhaps not highlighted in your in that citation, but it's a very important part of the man that you've become. And now you've played a great role in helping to stage some very major exercises within the Australian Defence Force, and in your present job you've got high responsibility. You're still going places strongly. Well done.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mrs Pam Beckhouse, for service to people with a disability. Mrs Beckhouse has been a long-standing advocate for children with special needs, particularly those with multiple disabilities. She spent many years helping these children in the school environment and also in the community at large. Mrs Beckhouse has given so much of herself to such a worthy cause. Mrs Pam Beckhouse awarded the Medal of the Order.
Hello. No, this first. Then we have something to shake hands about.
All the wonderful work you've done for us.
But you're here to be recognised today. So let's just say, I know that you've been doing this sort of work for 40 years. 40 years, probably whistle past. You are, I think the technical term, your blood is worth bottling.
Oh.
Tell me about the Black Mountain School.
Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful school. We have lots of people with disabilities that you would think they can't do anything, but we try very hard and we find something they can do.
And the other thing you do is that you have a weekly session at the Tuggeranong Bowl,
Oh, yeah.
people bowling with the disabled people.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody looks at a lady like you and says, there stands a pillar of the community. You're not very tall, but you're a giant. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mr Cecil Burgess, for service to local government and to the community of Gundaroo. For over 20 years as a councillor in the Yass Shire Council, Mr Burgess has most aptly represented his constituents and has been an outstanding voice for the rural community. Mr Burgess possesses a profound understanding of matters affecting residents and has been diligent in achieving fair and just outcomes for the citizens of the Yass Valley. Mr Cecil Burgess awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good morning. So we'll do this first. There we go. Very good. You've been on the council, the Yass Council since '95, something like that? Okay. But you've been on the Back Creek Fire Brigade since '67. Does that ring a bell?
No, Gundaroo first.
Gundaroo.
Yeah,
Was that
Gundaroo.
'67?
Yeah, 1967.
Yeah. And then Back Creek
Then
later.
Back Creek later on.
Well, you moved up.
Yeah, no, because we got split.
I got split. Right. You're on 8 other Gundaroo associations and community groups, and you're also on the Southern Tablelands Weeds and Noxious Plants
Authority.
Yeah. And you're a grazier and you're a contractor.
That's right.
You're quite busy.
Yes.
Well, now you've been recognised as a pillar of your community. Well done.
Thank you.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mr Ian Frazer, for service to conservation and the environment. Mr Frazer has, for the past 38 years, achieved much in raising awareness of the natural environment. He is a passionate and knowledgeable educator who has worked diligently to conserve and preserve the unique biodiversity of the ACT region. Mr Frazer's guiding principle in his work has always been the defence of the environment for the benefit of all. Mr Ian Frazer awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good morning. Here we go. Just turn towards me. Thank you very much. Good show. Now, you have, how many field guides have you written? About 8?
Something of that order, yeah.
Yeah, and you do the Gang column in a newsletter that goes out quite...
I did that for 100 issues anyway.
100, oh, that's right, just a few. And I think you're on any number of environmental care organisations and committees within the ACT, is that correct?
I've had that privilege, yes.
Yeah. You're the sort of person who keeps us informed and concerned, properly concerned, about the stewardship of our environment, and today your community recognises you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mrs Doreen Henson, for service to the community through the Baptist Church of Australia. Mrs Henson has provided many years of unstinting service to the Baptist community in Canberra. She's been steadfast in her support of a range of programs, from training for unemployed youth, the provision of after-school and holiday programs for children, through to fundraising for welfare and aged care organisations. Mrs Henson's award is most deserved, and we thank her for her efforts. Mrs Doreen Henson awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good morning. Now you were in the, come around here so people can see you a little bit. There we go. You started to become a known person within the Baptist Church community from around about 1959. You were in your adult years and were able to participate in the leadership, I could put it that way. You started an after-hours soccer activity for youngsters in about '67, and that went on and on.
Yes, that was down in Sydney.
Yep.
Latchkey kids, we called them then.
Right, well, they had soccer to go to under your auspices. Dixon Baptist Church?
Yes.
Okay, and I think, Khalil Farm, I don't understand what that is. What's that?
Well, that originally started as a training program for unemployed people here in Canberra.
Still going?
No,
Okay, how long did it go for?
25, 26 years.
Fantastic, yeah. And now you're also, I think, treasurer of the Women's Auxiliary at the Baptist Church, correct?
Oh, yes, here in Canberra, yes.
Ah, well, they're all cheering you on, so are we. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mr Vincent Kane, for service to the community through social welfare organisations. Mr Kane has worked tirelessly for over 30 years for the benefit of others in the Canberra region, particularly for those who are disadvantaged. His leadership of the St Patrick's Conference of the St Vincent de Paul Society has been outstanding and earned him great respect. Mr Kane's achievements reflect the very best of what it means to be Australian. Mr Vincent Kane awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, a lot of your adult life has been spent ministering to others through the agency of the St Vincent de Paul. And for so many years you were either directly participating in the sort of outreach that the St Vincent de Paul does or standing in for others. And one of the notes that I looked at in relation to you was that over the holiday period when there was a need and those who might normally minister were elsewhere, you would go in their stead. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yep. This man has not had a holiday in 30 years.
31.
Oh, 31, no, I'm sorry. All right. I think we're going to vote by acclamation. He should have a holiday this year.
Thank you.
But you're now the president of the society.
Well, of the local branch.
Yes, yeah. But that's put even more responsibility on you, and you are just a credit to your community.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mr Lyle McCarthy, for service to rowing. Mr McCarthy has made a great commitment to the sport of rowing at the local, national and international level. He has had an illustrious career coaching national teams for over 20 years, including at 6 Olympic Games. Mr McCarthy has also been a world champion rower himself and can be counted as one of the few true custodians of the sport. Mr Lyle McCarthy awarded the Medal of the Order.
This one first. Now we can do that. Great gusto. So, you've coached 18 different boats, if I could call it the boat, to a medal performance, and 27 different athletes or rowers. And especially you've been coach of that marvellous women's rowing team within the Australian rowing team on many occasions. You've been AIS Coach of the Year on several occasions, and you're in our Hall of Fame. I'm sure you're in somebody else's as well. You are, of course, pivotal within the sport, and you help Australians to feel so proud of our athletes. Well done.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Commander Francis Owen, for service to the military maritime sector and particularly to submarines. Commander Owen has made a major contribution to Australia's defence industry, particularly to the Collins-class submarine program. Since retiring from the Navy, he's played a vital role in Australia's submarine selection and construction processes, and he's helped to increase the public's understanding of the importance of the submarine to this nation's defence. Commander Francis Owen awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good morning. Now, you've been on various capacities within the Submarine Institute of Australia for years. You've been the Treasurer and the Vice President, and you're still active within the yeah. Okay, and what people here would, some people here would not understand well, is that it is such a technical and narrow stream of activity. It requires professionals constantly to explain it and advocate it, so that the wider Australians know why they must continue to invest strongly in this capability. But there's one part of what you have been doing which is very important. AE2, a submarine in World War I, was lost at sea in action, and you have moved to preserve its location and its, I guess, sanctity, if I could put it that way. Is that correct?
Yes, I played a part in telling the story.
Played a part in telling the story, typically Australian. You know, well, a leading light in that. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Continue your efforts.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, the Venerable Emeritus Ann Rance, for service to the Anglican Church of Australia and to the community. Archdeacon Ann is a widely respected and valued leader in the Anglican Diocese of the Canberra-Goulburn region. Her work among the elderly and socially disadvantaged across Canberra is without peer. Archdeacon Ann has changed lives, restored dignity and renewed hope during her 50 years of ministry in the region. The Venerable Emeritus Ann Rance awarded the Medal of the Order.
Stand here, please. Here we go. Thank you. Well done. Look this way. Now, you were a librarian at the law courts at one stage. Just come around here a little so they can all see you. Yeah,
Yes, I was.
Okay, and I think you were ordained in 1998 as a deacon in 1998.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And obviously you've been of wonderful service to the whole community, but particularly to people through your diaconate in the Anglican Church. I'd like to reflect on one part which is not in a bio anywhere. You were a recipient of a Bravery Award from the Royal Humane Society for an event many years ago.
That's correct, yes.
You were at Cooper Pedy, and you were recognised because you went down a mine shaft where a miner had fallen 50 metres and ministered to that injured person in obviously the circumstances of that terrible accident. So you are a remarkable person, and we're glad to honour you today.
Thank you.
Well done.
Awarded the medal in the General Division, Mrs Anne Wiggin, for service to the communities of Goulburn and Bungonia. Mrs Wiggin is a well-respected school teacher in the Goulburn region, always ensuring that her teaching skills expanded well beyond the classroom and school hours. Since her retirement, she's continued with vital community work and is best known for her environmental protection efforts for the Bungonia Gorge. Mrs Wiggin is most worthy of this nation's thanks and recognition. Mrs Anne Wiggin awarded the Medal of the Order.
Good morning. You've been a member of that Bungonia Progress Association since 1975, and you are a member of 13 other community associations and groups. So these are all volunteer organisations. The one that stands out to me, though, you volunteer to assist in a weekend detention program. I presume you look for people who need that sort of care because they're in detention.
Well, they're in the community corrections,
yes.
So they have work orders
okay.
To work in the community. So the community corrections come to our community and we work alongside them.
Yep.
And they fulfil their hours and they support our community.
So you do that on your weekends?
Yes.
Well done. Congratulations.
Awarded the medal in the Military Division, Sergeant Katrina Liston, for meritorious service in instruction, case officer support and training medical supervision as a Divisional Senior Non-Commissioned Officer at the Australian Defence Force Academy. Over years of devoted service at the Australian Defence Force Academy, Sergeant Liston established herself as an outstanding instructor, mentor, team member and case support officer across every dimension of a challenging and demanding training appointment. Sergeant Liston's ability to develop trainee officers has enabled her to influence and inspire numerous cohorts of junior officers. Sergeant Katrina Liston awarded the Medal of the Order.
Hello.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Now, you joined the Air Force in 03, went through Combat Support Hospital, number 3 Combat Support Hospital, is that right? Okay, and then you came to the Academy in 2014, and in that time you've been directly guide, mentor, instructor to about 150 youngsters, but you've influenced hundreds and more than that, thousands more than that. And while you're in there, not in a direct medical role, you've frequently been asked to assist in that role when cadet groups deploy so that the exercise can proceed. So that is just incidental to your posted duties. So you're a typical, perhaps a leading example of what the Australian Defence Force prizes so much, people who get stuck in and have a go and are committed to their profession. Well done.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
We move now to the Distinguished Service Decorations. Awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, Colonel Richard Vagg. For distinguished command and leadership in warlike operations as a Commander Task Group Taji 4 in Iraq on Operation Okra from December 2016 to June 2017. Colonel Vagg's leadership of Task Group Taji 4 significantly enhanced training for Iraqi security forces during a period of protracted combat in Iraq, including the Battle of Mosul. Colonel Vagg fostered an integrated Australian and New Zealand Defence Force approach, and he established an advisory team that assisted the North Baghdad Operations Command to disrupt Daesh operations. Colonel Richard Vagg awarded the Distinguished Service Cross.
Get the step ladder.
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations. You stand here while I try to look taller. You're there, the context for this is that Mosul was the Iraqi objective, to liberate Mosul. In your time you trained, you and your men and women trained 8,000 Iraqis, and they were in many cases shipped off immediately into combat in Mosul. You integrated your Australian and New Zealand trainers into a wonderful team. It's a remarkable ANZAC project, which is going wonderfully well. But you also got mobile teams to go out, understanding that these people needed further mentoring. They weren't the finished product. So your mobile teams actually were in the combat zone with these Iraqi security forces. Your team's name is a byword. In that time, the sort of people you were mentoring conducted 55 battalion and brigade-sized operations and 2 divisional scale operations. And the military folks here will understand that is a vast enterprise. So in all respects, you performed superbly. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Awarded the Commendation for Distinguished Service, Brigadier Khalil Vigan. For distinguished performance of duties in warlike operations as the Director of Plans in Combined Joint Force Land Component Command, Iraq, as part of Operation Inherent Resolve from July 2016 to April 2017. Brigadier Vigan provided superb coordination and leadership to the combined planning of the international coalition and the Iraqi security forces for operations against Daesh. He distinguished himself through his military expertise and ability to unify and motivate all the involved forces. Brigadier Vigan's performance contributed significantly to the effectiveness of coalition support to the Iraqi security forces in a highly complex and contested environment. Brigadier Khalil Vigan awarded the Commendation for Distinguished Service.
Good morning, good to see you again. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, we just saw Colonel Vagg, but you were in another area. You were in the joint planning for the whole of the coalition and Iraqi forces to engage in this campaign, not just along the Tigris up to Mosul, but the Euphrates out to Aramadi and Fallujah. So these are Iraqi forces simultaneously looking to liberate these areas from ISIS. And you were coordinating the efforts of 30 participating nations, of course Iraq, but all of the contributing nations. You did it superbly. Congratulations.
And now to the Conspicuous Service Decorations. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Commodore Grant Ferguson, for outstanding achievement as Director General, Suakin Branch Defence People Group. Commodore Ferguson has provided inspirational leadership to staff responsible for implementing one of the Australian Defence Force's most challenging and innovative reform programs. The model he and his team designed has introduced fundamental change to the way members of the ADF render service. Commodore Ferguson's achievements have ensured the delivery of improved capability options and workforce flexibility for Defence now and into the future. Commodore Grant Ferguson awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross.
Good morning, how are you? Now, you joined the Navy in 1976, Commodore 06, around about then?
That's right.
Okay. Correct. Now, your job was to plan and execute this total workforce model, which was to say that the old divisions between the permanent force folks in the Navy, Army and Air Force and the reservists had to be scratched and start again so that we could properly exploit our reservists. And this has proved to be absolutely vital for the Australian Defence Force to actually present capability to government and the people instead of fossicking around working out how to get that sort of work done ad hoc. So you've done the plan. This is enormously strategic and you're a worthy recipient of this award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Colonel Stephen Hume, for outstanding achievements in the coordination of material support to Australian Defence Force operations. Colonel Hume demonstrated exceptional dedication and foresight in the coordination and delivering of materiel support to defence operations. He made an outstanding impact on the Capability Acquisition and Sustainment Group's performance, significantly improving outcomes. Colonel Hume's achievements over several years have delivered direct and sustained benefits to the Australian Defence Force. Colonel Stephen Hume awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross.
Nice, Stephen.
Thank you.
Now, you've had a long and distinguished career as a problem solver within the military. You looked at the strategic holdings of our protected mobility vehicles. These are the armoured vehicles which we need to have available for deployment so that the current use of improvised explosive devices, we have some protection for our men and women. And so you resolved that issue when there were shortfalls and need. And then I think when you went to the Middle East, you were able to, again, keep that supply chain in good shape. And you also even used your wisdom to resolve a deployment issue of aircraft into the area and then the client's use of the aeroplanes, how to best exploit the availability of the Chief of Air Force's aeroplanes that were over there for Operation Okra.
Some good people.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Colonel Kirsty Skinner, For outstanding devotion to duty as a Staff Officer Grade 1 postings, Director of Soldier Career Management, Army. Colonel Skinner has applied devotion to duty, dedication and strategic acumen to enhance soldier career management in the Australian Army. Colonel Skinner's contributions have achieved exemplary career management outcomes from limited resources and have ensured that Army's 23,000 full-time soldier workforce delivers capability requirements while being managed with respect and compassion. Colonel Kirsty Skinner awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross.
Kirsty.
Hello, sir.
You joined in 92, I think, didn't you? Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Joined in 92, Half Colonel in 2012, correct? Yes. Okay. In that time, well, in your time in the posting area, 22,000, and out of a workforce of 23,000, there were 22,000 posting orders. That 1,000 they're hiding. But I guess that's over a period of time. 6,000 compassionate postings, and I think 600 compassionate postings, and there were, let me see, 1,400 people presented to the PAC, that's promotion and advisory, and 1,700 sergeants and warrant officers got promoted. They know you as Saint Kirsty. You're very popular with them. You're obviously doing a great job. Congratulations.
Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Stimson, for outstanding achievement as a Brigade Major of the 6th Combat Support Brigade. Colonel Stimson demonstrated foresight and organisational skills to lead 6th Combat Support Brigade through a readjustment of contingency forces, including the development of new capabilities and the establishment of a more agile force element. Colonel Stimson's dedication to duty contributed to the Brigade's deployment to ongoing coalition operations and domestically to Operation Queensland Assist. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Stimson awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross.
Congratulations. So you had 3 operational tours in places like East Timor and Afghanistan, commanded at subunit level, and you were the Brigade Major of the 6th Support Brigade in Enoggera. And you had to transition it from being a standalone brigade that supported lots and lots of different people into being more integrated with the Deployable Joint Force Headquarters. You did that magnificently, and the proof of the pudding was when the engineer regiment from that brigade had to rush off and assist in the flood relief in South Queensland. Is that correct?
Yes.
A magnificent job. Well done.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Allen, for meritorious achievement as a Brigade Major of the 7th Brigade. Colonel Allen's mastery of the operational art has been instrumental in the development of extensive force modernisation and the generation and sustainment of operational and contingency forces from within the 7th Brigade. Colonel Allen's performance as a Brigade Major is of the highest order and in the finest traditions of the Royal Regiment of Australian Artillery. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Allen awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal.
Morning. Come around here. You also have been to Afghanistan and East Timor, I think. Yeah, and as Brigade Major there, you had people deploying to the Middle East area of operations. You had people participating in humanitarian assistance tasks and doing it marvellously well. You introduced tanks and another capability in the brigade which hadn't previously been there.
The land 121.
Okay, the
trucks. Yeah.
The trucks, right. All of that was on your watch. Well, you did it superbly. Well done. Keep it up.
Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Lieutenant Colonel Clarence Havel, for meritorious achievement in operational planning and execution in the Australian Army. Colonel Havel played a vital role in the establishment of the Directorate of Land Operations. His expertise has significantly improved Army's input into joint planning and the execution of domestic and regional operations. Colonel Havel has provided outstanding service to Army's domestic and regional operational commitments. Lieutenant Colonel Clarence Havel awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal.
Good morning, how are you going? Oh, there we go. Come around here. You joined a long time ago, 93, and you got your commission in 06?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And you became, you are the go-to man for Defence Force aid to the civil community. You have had so many claims through you upon the Defence Force's assets to help with disaster relief that you have these marvellous relationships now with the people who ask and the people who are your collaborators from the civilian agencies in the relief. So you represent a vital outreach by the Defence Force into the wider Australian and international community. You can be very proud of your work. Congratulations.
We move now to the Meritorious Service Awards. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Mr John Reid, for outstanding public service through the provision of legal advice to the Commonwealth. Mr Reid has displayed great knowledge, technical expertise and legal professionalism as an advisor to the Commonwealth for over a decade. His comprehensive grasp of legal disciplines has seen him deliver superior guidance to the Australian Government. Mr Reid has made a considerable and positive impact on some of our nation's most difficult legal policy issues. Mr John Reid awarded the Public Service Medal.
Hello John, good to see you again. Good. Come out here. You're one of our foremost experts in international human rights. You were involved in particular on the Australian side in the legal issues surrounding the MH17 matter in 2014, and also you helped most recently in that quite complex case of the boundary issue with East Timor in the maritime area, and you're presently the governance person at Prime Minister and Cabinet, and as such we sometimes deal with each other. But in any event, you are a profound expert and properly recognised with this PSN. Congratulations.
Awarded the Public Service Medal, Ms Bronwyn Overton Clark, for outstanding public service in the Australian Capital Territory, particularly in the area of public sector standards. During her public service career spanning over 30 years, Ms Overton Clark gained an excellent reputation for working collaboratively across both government and non-government partners. She is highly regarded for her achievements in policy development, as well as for frontline service delivery in the areas of child protection and public housing services. Ms Overton Clark was also a committed driver of cultural change across the ACT public service. Ms Bronwyn Overton Clark awarded the Public Service Medal.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Good. Now, it stresses your leadership, which is obviously there as Public Service Commissioner, and you are a role model for so many other folks in your service. But it was in that frontline area I noticed in particular that you were responsible not for perhaps the policy so much there, but the delivery of 420 public housing dwellings in the ACT, which is a major, major thing for people in need of decent, dignified housing. So in all respects, we congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
Awarded the Australian Fire Service Medal, Mr Geoffrey Andrew, for distinguished service to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. Mr Andrew has been a stalwart of his local rural fire brigade in Burra since 1977. He has demonstrated his leadership capabilities by serving in a range of positions, and he is highly respected by his colleagues and peers. Mr Andrew is also a passionate advocate for continuous improvement and training and to ensuring the safety of those in his community. Mr Geoffrey Andrew awarded the Australian Fire Service Medal.
Good morning. Congratulations. Well done. Just stand here for a moment. You've been a captain and a deputy group captain and a group captain over many years. You've been to many local but further out in the state and interstate events, fires. You're an air observer, and you for many years have been on the State Consultative Committee of the Royal Fire Service. Is that correct? Yep. Well, you are typical of the folks who spend a vast amount of their time volunteering in such an urgent and life-saving community service. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this morning, and I now invite the Governor-General to speak.
I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Ngunnawal people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to elders from other communities who may be with us today. From Lynn and I, good morning. At this ceremony, we recognise those who have gone above and beyond and made an exceptional contribution to our nation. And I can see the pride and joy on the faces of families and friends who are here sharing the occasion. And that's absolutely justified and to be encouraged. To each recipient, we all offer our deepest congratulations, our admiration and respect. This ceremony draws attention to your personal efforts made willingly, without thought of recognition or personal gain. Australians are fortunate to benefit from your passion and your skills and dedication, and so fitting that you've been recognised by our honours system. Honours do help to define and encourage and reinforce national aspirations and ideals. Honours help identify role models and give the next generation something to aspire to. And it's important that we identify and nominate those deserving of an award. To the recipients, you now join the company of men and women whose actions have enriched our community and our lives. Your commitment to excellence and to your fellow citizens is something to be revered and admired. After today's celebration is over, I'm sure you'll continue to serve, to lead, and to inspire in whatever your future holds. So I say on behalf of all Australians, thank you for your contribution. I hope you'll remember this day as a day when Australia said, congratulations and well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, recipients will now join the Governor-General and Lady Cosgrove on the state entrance stairs for an official photograph. I invite guests just to remain in your seats briefly while recipients depart, and then to proceed to the the dining room for refreshments with Their Excellencies and the recipients. Thank you and good morning.